Hi, this is Becky with Icing on Top Becky's Cakes, and today I'm going to show you how to make this Minecraft cake. Now, all the little figures on it are toys. Those are mini Minecraft toys that I got in a pack from Amazon. I'm going to show you how to make the cake itself today. Now, this cake was very special to me because I'm making it for my son. This is his 8th birthday, and he loves chocolate, and he loves Oreos, and he loves mint. So I'm making a chocolate cake with chocolate frosting on the sides, with Oreos crushed and pressed into the sides, and then the green buttercream on top is actually my peppermint buttercream, and it's really good. I'll go ahead and put the buttercream recipes in the details below. Now, as you can see, I put all those Oreos in a bag and I am crushing them with my rolling pin. This makes it really simple because I don't make any more dishes dirty, but if you wanted to put them in a food processor and just turn it on for a while until they become very fine crumbs, you can do that as well. But I'm just going to crush them this way, and they kind of look like little rocks and stuff once you press them in. Now, for the cake itself, we want to make sure it's completely well chilled. That makes it much easier to carve. I actually bake it the day before and put it in the fridge overnight, and then it is nice and chilled for me to do. And it's a 10-inch square cake. Now, I have little 5-inch squares that I cut out and printed online to make sure that I got exactly 5-inch squares. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to tack them in place with some toothpicks and kind of follow that line. And that way I can cut 4 of these 5-inch squares. Of course, if you have little 5-inch square baking pans, you can just do it that way. Or if you have an 8.5 by 11, you might want to bake a couple sheets and then just cut out 5-inch squares from there. But luckily I at least had a 10-inch square, so I can get 4 little squares from that. Then I'm going to remove the toothpick from one side and cut this paper square off, and then follow that line and cut another square of the chocolate cake. A small square right off the tip of this square. So this is going to be kind of like that game when you were kids and you had to fold the paper 1,000 times. No, we're only going to make a little fold, a square. And this little square will show us exactly how much we're going to cut off that tip right there. Fold in that corner so it's a little triangle and shows where you want to place that square. And in order to mark the sides, we're just going to fold in both sides, and that'll give us a little marker as to how big that square is. Of course, if you didn't want to play this folding game with me, you can always cut this little squares all ahead of time and not worry about this part. And so this little square, I did not actually measure how long it was. It looks to be about 1 inch. So if you did about cut 1 inch square, and then maybe a 3-inch square for the next one, that'll be about the same size. So if you don't want to do all this folding, that way you don't have, but this, I already had the 5-inch, and this worked out pretty good for me. So we're just gonna cut and cut and then take off this little square and set it aside. And then we're gonna also set aside this other larger square that we have the little piece cut off. Game again, unless you decided to just go ahead and cut a 3-inch and a 1-inch square instead, but I'm just gonna fold this in a little bit because I want the shape of the middle square being cut out here. So we're gonna fold that down so we know exactly where we're gonna cut this. It's gonna be like an L shape, kind of, only they're both gonna be long size. And we're really just guessing as we go. When my son asked me to make a Minecraft cake, I was like, do you want to make it something cuter? But he's 8 and they have opinions now. This is fun when they're younger because then you can kind of persuade them as to the cute cake you want them to do. But once they hit 8, or even before 8, for sure. My other one, my 5-year-old's opinionated too. So, you know, you can't exactly persuade them as to the cake you want them to do anyway. You have to go with what theirs is. But then, you know, once I started thinking on this more, I'm like, we can come up with something creative, Minecraft. So I'm going to pin this in place with my toothpick again. And like I said, if you did a 3-inch square, then you don't have to worry about the bending on this one, but it's really not that hard. We're just going to cut out our L shape here and keep it as even as possible. Then I'm going to go ahead and pipe some chocolate frosting on that and stick these 2 sides together. And then I actually decided that I didn't want this one on the bottom, so I'm going to put the full square on the bottom end, lift this up with the spatula and stick it on top. But you guys can learn from my mistakes and just stick it right on top to begin with. Now we'll just go ahead and cut these last 2 right in half. And then this one is actually going to be our bottom instead. And there we go, we're just going to put that one with the little piece that's cut out of it right on top, and then we'll press it down so the frosting helps that stick. And don't worry, we'll put in supports when we have all the pieces on that we want. Until then, this will move around until you get it leveled and stuff the way you want to, and you can press on it, on that frosting, to help level it a little more. I'm going to place the smaller square right on top of there and cut that far on either side so that I have cut out another square. So I'm going to use these 2 smaller squares. In a second you'll see where I'll place those. I'm going to pull both of these out and leave the other L shape here. I'm going to use a little bit of buttercream to help stick it to the board. Buttercream, it always acts as my glue with the cake. A little bit of buttercream on that top piece and plop that on top. Now here I have some smoothie straws. I'm just going to cut them so that they fit perfectly in place, and that's what I'm going to use to hold all of these sections in place. Once I get the rest of the cake on, we're going to be adding some more smoothie straws, and that'll keep it from wobbling around, especially when you start frosting the sides. So the straws are very important to help keep everything together and not just to rely on the buttercream to do it. As you can see, I just chopped up my other L so that I have 2 longer pieces that I can put here. And that also leaves me that little square back there. And so I'm going to put both of these to line up with the edge of each of these sides. You want to trim off enough that it's going to do that, and then we'll put buttercream on those, and we're going to press those right down into where we want them. Now for a lot of this, I had a rough idea of the route I was taking with it, but I didn't exactly know what shape I was going for until I started putting pieces together. Because if you've seen Minecraft, they have all these little bricks and stuff that they put together and build together. I feel like I am doing Minecraft in cake form here. But yeah, I justify that my son plays an educational video game, so it's perfectly acceptable now. So we're just gonna set that last little square right underneath the top square, and we're gonna put some buttercream there to keep that in place. Once we have it all glued together with our buttercream, we are going to get out some more straws, and we're going to anchor all these pieces in place so that we do not have any accidents or any movement when we're trying to put buttercream on the side, because you're going to be rubbing that buttercream back and forth to smooth it into the sides, even though we're covering the sides Also with Oreo over the top of those buttercream, you still want to make sure that you've covered the entire area of the sides with buttercream to be able to press on the Oreos. So it doesn't need to be super smooth, but it does need to be fully covered. And we're definitely going to need to have this structure not be moving around when we do that. Now that everything is in place, we'll pop it in the freezer for about 30 minutes. We want it nice and firm when we start putting buttercream on it so it doesn't move around. And then I'm also using a piping bag to place my buttercream. That just makes it a lot easier to get the buttercream on in place rather than using it with my just my offset spatula and rubbing it back and forth. We get a lot more crumbs all over the place when you just use the offset spatula. So I'm going to use this to help out with that, and also it's just a little quicker. Once you get all the buttercream on all the sides, I did the front first, then I rubbed it all on with my offset spatula, and then I turned around and did the back, and then rubbed again with my offset spatula. Get it all in place first. And now here is a little plastic bench scraper, and I'm just going to go ahead and sharpen those edges and smooth it just a little more with this. These little plastic ones I just find are more flexible and easier for a job like this rather than the metal one. With my crushed Oreos, I am just taking a handful and pressing it right into the sides here. And that's what we're going to do on all the frosted sides. We're just going to press in that Oreo. And yes, it's going to make a mess at first. So just keep pressing in the Oreos, and then once we get all the Oreos pressed in place, then you can clear off the extra Oreos that have fallen down with that plastic bench scraper. You just clean it off there, and then once the bench scraper is cleaned off, it'll do really great as a scraper of Oreo and get rid of all the extra Oreo all around your work area and the cake. Now we're just taking our green buttercream, which I've flavored mine with peppermint, and just going to pipe it right on. Now it's not going to stick quite as well because you're piping it on a cake that also has Oreo on it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm piping it on like this, because otherwise if you try just to put it on with the offset spatula, it's just not going to stick well and you're just going to get Oreo everywhere. And so after I get all the levels covered with green, I'm going to smooth that again with my plastic bench scraper to smooth it out a little bit before I add the grass with my 233 grass tip. So here's my 233 grass tip, and I'm just going to go ahead and start piping this all over, starting at the back and working my way out. For the happy birthday part, I just used a buttercream transfer, and I'm just going to pipe some grass around it. If you want to see how I did the buttercream transfer, I did a whole tutorial on it, so I won't bore you with it right now, but you can check out that buttercream transfer tutorial on my channel, and that one's a lot of fun. So anytime that I want to do any character or something that the kids actually want, like buttercream piped on to a cake or something, then I can just do a buttercream transfer and do it. With this, I just went to defonts.com and I got the Minecraft font and then put that in a Word document and then flipped it 180 on a text box on Word, and then print it out, because you always want it in mirror form, otherwise your writing's going to be backwards. And I have only done that one time, and the one time is all you'll ever need to do that, and be like, bummer. When you put that on a cake. Anyway, here is our Minecraft cake. It is all done and ready for the birthday boy, and put all the cute little figurines on it, so he'll be able to play with those later after he eats cake. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.